Well, everyone, I just got back from actually using the iPhone 6s as kind of like my main phone for the past, I would say, day and a half. I just kind of got done using it. Now, I will tell you, I've been kind of using this phone on an everyday basis for the last 5 years. I've been heavily involved with, reviewing this phone since it pretty much came out, but also with any iOS version, comparing it to older ones, battery tests, all that stuff. And I kind of wanted to kind of give it a shot to see if I could actually use it for a day. And I will tell you, this is not a crazy big deal. People still use phones like the iPhone 5s and 5 all the time, and iPhones last for a very long time. I will start off with the body though. As I stated before, I think this iPhone was a pretty big upgrade coming from the iPhone 6. Unfortunately, the body was not one of those things. Still kind of an older body, and kind of the biggest thing about using this phone, at least for the last like day and a half, whatever I was using it, was that using the home button was actually not that big of a deal. Kind of not using that gesture-based design wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. So that is probably one thing to keep in mind. Now, kind of zooming out, personally, what I was doing on this phone, pretty much whatever I would do on any other phone, my SIM card was not working on this device, but so that was kind of weird. I was not able to bring my SIM card into this phone, but I was able to bring my iMessages and all that stuff within this device too. Personally, basically, we can kind of take a look at exactly what I was doing with my phone. So if I go into battery, I did try my best to use this phone as much as I could. Typically, I will be honest, I use my MacBook a lot more than I use any other device. In this specific case, as you can see, I didn't really use it a crazy amount today. I kind of started, I guess, like a day, whatever, yesterday, day and before. But I do want to say one thing. Like I said, I tried my best to actively use this phone. So it wasn't like I was trying to just use my MacBook too much. I wanted to use this phone to see how it was. I spent a lot of time on TikTok. I was watching a TikTok live yesterday. I spent a lot of time on calendar messages. So you can see just from my complete workflow, 2 hours and 43 minutes. I don't use my phone that much on an everyday basis. My 13 Pro, maybe I use it for like an hour of screen on time. I'm usually using my MacBook on an everyday basis for everything that I do. So really, honestly, what I can tell you is from a huge, bird's eye view level of kind of reviewing this thing, it really wasn't that bad of a deal. It really wasn't that bad of a scenario. And the first thing I do want to say was the performance wasn't actually that bad. The performance was actually very good. I spent a lot of time yesterday, as you guys saw, pretty much just going through and playing games like Temple Run. I just wanted to see how far I can get within this game. And honestly, it was a very good experience. I didn't really have too many issues with it. Not Temple Run 2, the original Temple Run, which is a very good game. From going through and actually, utilizing some games here and there, downloading some more applications, going onto TikTok. Another small thing I kind of did was like edit some of my thumbnails that I did for some of my other videos. For the most part, this phone did a really good job. It really wasn't that bad of an experience, and it was giving me, like I said before, pretty much the same exact experience on an everyday basis that I use my other phones for on this one. Now, the main issue that I kind of ran into was two things: overheating and battery. From what I just kind of tested yesterday, and I've had these experiences for many years from now. As you can see, I've been filming this video for 3.5 minutes barely. It dropped 8%. I pretty much just took it out this morning, as you guys can see, and I pretty much checked it a little bit. It already went down 100. It already went down 7% for me making this video. Another 2%. Like, what is going on here? And that's because it's not an iPhone 6s problem. It's because the battery problem. My battery health here is severely degraded, 75%, and this isn't really out of place. A lot of older iPhones, like the iPhone 6s, have really bad battery lives. So because of that, you're not really going to be getting that crazy great of an experience. I will also add, if I were to go ahead and replace this battery, I still would probably not get that great of an experience either. So it's just one of those things to keep in mind. Yesterday, I kept it plugged in for a lot of it. It's the first time I've ever had a charger phone, so you can see I charged it in the morning. I used it for a little bit, so it went on standby because I didn't really use it. Then I started watching, I think it was like TikTok or something like that, and then it kind of went down a lot more. Then I had to charge it up, and then I pretty much just kind of let it deplete. However, I will say I was watching a TikTok live for probably way longer than I thought. So I was watching a TikTok live for an hour and a half that was not charging, and that was a really decent experience. I actually had a really good time with that. I'm surprised I spent that much time on my calendar. I'm surprised there's not more, to be honest. But with this one, I was watching that TikTok live. It did not drain out that bad. It was overheating this phone like crazy, though. For the most part, just using this phone like that, it just overheats. And that is something that doesn't really have too much to do with the battery. It's just because of the chipset itself. The A9 chip inside of this thing with 2 GB of RAM, that is probably the bigger issue you're going to have. I tried to go ahead and just kind of like open up the camera. I kind of forgot to just go on my camera that much. I did send a few Snapchats. I went on Instagram a ton as well. But it's weird because when I went on Instagram, but it's weird because if I go on Instagram right here, it doesn't really look like I use it that much. It's only for 3 minutes. But it's weird because I've been on to Instagram a lot. So I don't know if this is that accurate. Like I said before, I'm pretty sure I spent way more on my calendar, but the TikTok looks accurate. So I don't really know what's going on there. But like I said, Now, some other things, kind of taking this phone out and kind of using it in public, it doesn't really matter. It kind of held up very well too, but it's just kind of like the worry about the battery life, in my opinion. That was the biggest takeaway. I didn't really use my other phone that much. If I got a call, then I picked it up, but I didn't really get calls yesterday. I will say, if you're using something like the iPhone 6s, your biggest complaint is going to be the battery. I did not have an issue with the performance. I didn't really use my camera that much. Everything I was going from editing my thumbnails to going on TikTok and watching lives to playing Temple Run 2 to going on Reddit and going on Twitter, I didn't have that big of an issue. Now, I've also played super heavy games like Genshin Impact on this phone as well, and you could say there may be some issues here and there with the phone overheating and the battery life as well, but you're really not going to be having too many issues in a performance standpoint, at least from my opinion. I think this phone, in a performance standpoint for everything I do with it, is actually still surprising. My only issue, like I mentioned before, is the battery life and is the overheating. So if you're not comfortable with that, if you need a phone with great battery life and if you're not around a charger, then it really doesn't make too much sense to purchase a phone like this and or buy a phone like this. And that's not to knock something like the iPhone 6s. Like I've stated before, I think this is an excellent phone. But the question is, should I recommend this phone to people now? And as I've stated before, no. I don't think, and even before even using it for a day, I already know, I've tested this phone thoroughly. I've compared it to every single other iPhone and iOS versions, and probably I think since iOS 11 or iOS 12, I've been updating this phone on every incremental iOS version, and even now on iOS 15.6, I feel like if this is the last ending point for this iPhone, for this version of software to be what it is right now, I feel like this iPhone is at a good spot. If you're willing to go ahead and just replace the battery, then maybe you can use it maybe for a little bit longer. But if you're actively trying to buy this iPhone, you want to go ahead and buy this one and kind of use it for maybe a year or two, I would not recommend doing that. I feel like that may give you a little bit of a worse experience, and I feel like that would not be the best way to go. But I tested a few things yesterday, and honestly, if I really wanted to, I could probably use this phone for maybe like a full 2.5 months or 4 months or something, and I think it'd be okay. But because we kind of have to go through, even like a game like Temple Run, it does kind of start a little bit, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. I was able to upgrade a ton of things yesterday, which was really, really surprising just by going through and utilizing this specific device. Now, would this be a phone I would recommend to people? No. But the only thing I would recommend doing is if you currently own this phone, then by all means go for it. You can keep it. I think that's a decent thing to do. If you want to keep this phone for a little bit longer, I think that's not a bad idea. But like I said, if you're wanting to go buy a phone and you don't want a phone with bad battery life, then obviously I would not recommend buying this one. If you currently own it, then keep it. I'm looking at my notes now to see if I missed up anything, but that kind of covers it up. Big takeaways, the battery life is not that great. It's not good at all, actually. It's not optimized, even if you're willing to, to repair it, I don't think it's going to be that great. This phone overheats a lot. Performance, though, is not that bad. The build quality is decent. I love Touch ID. I didn't use the headphone jack at all. And I really don't even think it's that big of a deal using a phone like this in 2022. I will say maybe the iPhone 6 or maybe iPhone 5s could be a little bit different, but that kind of covers up my 1.5 day experience of using this phone. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.